Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 156 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, and this is the second time of doing this intro with my co-hosts.
My name is Craig. 20 minutes to an hour and a half after playing Dead Island 2. I love zombies.
My name is also Craig, also playing Dead Island. We're like the same person, doing the same exact thing. But we can't play together. Yeah, but we can't play together because crossplay apparently doesn't exist in 2023.
So yeah, especially when you have a decade to make a sequel. But we could talk about that.
I want to hear you guys talk about Dead Island 2 because I can't remember the last time I didn't get like a big game that's coming out, and like Dead Island 2 is very special and a big game in its own right. And this is like one of the first times that like I haven't bought the game. You know, I'm
surprised. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, same. I didn't spend $70 on a game I'm going to play 5 minutes and then decide not to play anymore. So
well, you know why? It's because of two reasons. Number one, the name of Dead Island 2 is not long enough, and number two, there's no alchemist key.
That's true.
So if there's not an alchemist key,
or the word Atelier in front of it, Atelier is apparently is what they all share. So that if it had it in front of it, Atelier Dead Island 2, you know I'd have it
pre-ordered.
Chronicle of the key to zombie survival.
Yeah. We might actually have something here.
There we go.
RE vaccine search and recovery. That should also be at the end of it.
Yes.
But what game doesn't need a long title for me to put in is news. That's the game this week of news that we're going to go over. So pretty much the major one here is that Jonathan Majors has been dropped by his agency. It has been revealed that more women are coming forward to help with the prosecution case against his domestic violence. And his agency dropped him, which does take a lot to do. But we haven't heard anything from Disney. Maybe it's just assumed that he's going to be dropped or something like that. But overall, I can't remember in recent times with like a huge actor that like kind of skyrocketed up to the top with like comparatively to Jonathan Majors, and then what most likely is his downfall in that he's probably never going to be finding a job for a long time, just because of this domestic violence. Like, how do you guys feel about it, or do you guys have any like other actors that have had a similar similar downfall? Yeah, Spacey. Yeah, that's right, Spacey.
Spacey.
You know what's funny is like I don't know what to think because they also had like there was him being dropped by his companies representing him, and then there was also his lawyer putting up video of his girlfriend later on that night at the club, like drinking all night and acting like she was fine. And then you have like, oh well, there's more women coming, and then them saying that like, oh the taxi video will, you know, show that there was no issue here. But obviously that taxi video, which is going to be the biggest piece of evidence, you're not going to see that until the trial, obviously. But I just think it's interesting. Like, I don't ever want to like just completely jump to like, oh, he's 100% guilty until everything is gone through here. There's a lot of evidence being thrown around. I also saw that Marvel has a contingency plan in place, I guess, to replace him already. Yeah, I mean, you should, but yeah, I don't know. This whole story is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It is not, domestic violence is definitely something that is not even often reported. So, when you kind of see this thing on a grander scale, like it is here, it's pretty unnerving. I don't have any sympathy. Like Craig, I don't know if he's 100% guilty. But the accusations make me think a different way, which is why companies will have contingency plans, and you'll see the inevitable downfall. No matter what happens, trial based, Majors is going to be dragged through the mud. So, I don't even need a guilty plea. I don't know if I feel bad for the guy, but it's going to be a crazy case. I don't know if it's going to be like Johnny Depp trial, tuning in the way the public was kind of tuning in and reacting to the Johnny Depp craziness. But, you got to imagine some people are going to want to see how this comes, like what happens at the end of the trial.
Yeah.
It's
just somebody who's like so all over the place right now, like Marvel movies, Creed 3, commercials, and it just could not have happened at the worst time for him, right? It's just he's
Mhm.
so out in the mainstream right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, and
And he,
it's just sad to think that, besides all the domestic violence stuff, I thought he was a pretty good actor. I thought he played well well as Kang. I haven't seen Creed 3 yet, but I did plan to. So it's just like it seemed like he had some viable acting chops to let a talent go to waste because whether you can't control your anger or whatever caused the domestic violence in this particular case.
mhm. Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. But I mean, he's getting hit all in his money. So
Yep.
like he's essentially Hollywood broke in terms of his future, like, or will be. You know what
Yep.
I mean? So
Yeah. We then have PlayStation adding Firewalk Studios as a developer to its, studio-owned developers or PlayStation Studios tag. I did go ahead and look them up. There's not many games that they're like particularly independently released yet, but they did help on games like Call of Duty, Destiny, Apex Legends, and Halo, which Sony did come out and say that this studio is going to help Bungie with the next exclusive shooter that they're supposed to be releasing. So it's nice to see Sony investing some money into that. Uh, the Firewalker Studios obviously has some ties to the first person shooter business, as all four of those games are very popular games
mm,
and very popular shooters and very successful shooters all in their own right. So just we have to see what they end up helping them with, and it just makes me a bit more excited for whatever Bungie's working on for PlayStation next. So
yeah.
it's just that we probably won't see anything for another 5 years is
Yeah.
how it feels with that.
Mhm.
And then just a kind of a connect thing is a U.S. senator is asking Sony to reveal their PlayStation game exclusivity deals. I was reading up on this, and and especially after Sony did everything to try to stop Microsoft from eventually owning and buying Activision, it seems as though the senator, I read the story and I was thinking it's like he just figured out that Final Fantasy 7 remake is never coming to Xbox.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
so it's like he found this out and then he goes, I need to see the deal on this, and I guess to expose it. I don't know what it would really do for Sony or not. Like they're not going to release the info if they don't have to. Um because I imagine it'll be, kind of damning to see what, how much they paid Square Enix to keep it off of Xbox, because that never did come
Mhm.
out for Xbox, did it? It just kind of,
Nope.
yeah,
Nope.
whispered away there. So
Mm-hmm.
they were just, Sony was hoping you forgot, but the senator and Craig here, they did not. They
Yeah, I did
know.
not.
They remembered. So have to
Yeah, I
see
would
what
like
comes
to
out of
know the
that.
number. It's got to be a
Yeah.
couple million at least, right?
Yeah, or whatever happened to make Final Fantasy 16 an exclusive game as well. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see U.S. senators on Capitol Hill clamoring for certain developers to finish their games quicker. Why can't we get like a positive representation? Like, I know it's a pipe dream, but I just think it would be hilarious if we had like an opposite in like Bizarro world. We had like a senator who was like rallying for Grand Theft Auto to not take as long as it is from Rockstar or something like that. Just, you know,
That would be pretty funny.
well, it's
yeah.
the reason we don't get that is if you guys have seen the clips from the grand jury trial from TikTok, these senators have no idea how Wi-Fi works and how that stuff works. That's
Yes.
why.
Because
That's
they're all
why.
80 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They pick up a PlayStation 5 controller and they go, "What is this contraption? What is this madness?"
Yeah. What is
That
this
this is.
contraption?
Yeah.
Can I talk to it? Can I talk in it? Yeah.
Is this recording me? It's sending it to China?
Yeah. Is
That's
this
what they're probably
record?
wondering.
It is.
Right. It is just recording me.
100%.
And
Oh
then
man.
lastly on my end is a Switch hacker now has been let out of prison from it. But what was he was a hacker from not from Nintendo but for a site that let hacks and ROMs go for their games. His name is Gary Bowser, not to
Yeah.
be confused with Doug Bowser, the
Ah,
the
yes.
the
Yes.
representative for Nintendo America. Because I was reading this and I'm like, wait, Bowser, isn't that the Nintendo America spokesperson? And it literally, I feel like Doug and Gary, they're almost very similar names. I can see why I kind of confuse them.
Yep.
But he's been
Yeah.
let out of prison and now owes Nintendo money for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane. I had no idea that's something where, you come out of prison and then, oh wait, now I got to owe Nintendo a certain amount of my paycheck no matter what I make, kind of thing. So it is insane, but look up the story if you feel like reading a little bit more about it, just because this hacker was sent to jail already and now he's out of it. So if
Oh
you
wow.
want to see whatever happened in the past and how he got convicted, you can go ahead and read that story. But overall, if you got to be careful of what you read on the internet, because it took me a minute to figure out that Gary and Doug are not the same person.
Yeah, there you go.
I think
The double take.
they said that he owes Nintendo like millions of dollars.
Yes.
And he had already started paying back when he was in jail because he was working, but like you don't get paid barely anything in jail. I think they said it's up to 30% of his paycheck goes to Nintendo, and they are making an example out of him for sure. To try to
Most
deter,
definitely.
deter stuff like this from happening again. It'll still happen, but yeah, I just think it's funny that this dude is never going to pay off the debt he owes ever.
He's not. He's not.
He's going to be giving Nintendo like $200, maybe $300 a month for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
a car payment
my God.
to Nintendo for the rest of your life.
No kidding. Wow. But that's all I had for news this week.
Sure. So the first one I wanted to bring up is, did you guys watch the gameplay video for, I believe it's pronounced Unrecord. It could be Unrecord, but I think it's Unrecord.
No, I had not.
I didn't. No.
Okay. So this game is a first person shooter, but they call it a body cam style shooter. So it's, imagine the camera being on your chest.
Okay.
The thing that is so crazy about this, if you go and watch this, is it is very hard at certain points in this trailer to determine that this is not actual footage. It's insane. The way they did it, and we have to wait for the final product to see if it delivers. But my God, does it look real? It's absolutely incredible. As far as I assume, when I see stuff like this and all this effort went into making it look as realistic, I'm sure the game is going to be extremely simple, probably not that great. But regardless, like this is looking at that is when we were younger and you would see like going from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 and you'd be like, oh my God, look at those graphics. I got the same feeling when I watched this. I was like, oh my God, there's no way. And like, there's even debates online, people saying that it's not a game and it's real footage. So you can kind of decide for yourself, but there are certain points in the trailer where you can tell. You're like, okay, that is actually a game. But for the most part, man, it's hard to distinguish. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
watching it
called
right now.
Wild?
This is this is pretty wild. It just looks like it definitely looks like live footage. I'm not
Right.
like
Right.
it looks like one of those, and it's kind of hard to tell what I feel like we've had a game like this before. It's almost like the point and click ones that are live action and
Yeah, like an
stuff.
FMV style game.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
what it feels like here, but
Oh wow.
I guess it
Yeah.
really depends, because like it had like an option to say dispatch in
Right.
here. So I was thinking that maybe it's like almost Detroit Become Human, like decide what you're gonna
Mhm.
do and then it happens out in real life kind of thing. But I guess we have to see. But
Listen,
yeah,
we're not going to know until people get hands on with this game, or at least some
Of
sort
course.
of demo. And you can tell like there is a filter on there to make it a little bit harder to distinguish. But from first looks at it, they've been working on this game for a while. Like it's pretty impressive.
Gonna have to keep an eye
I'm
out for
not
that.
I'm not sure how this isn't some sort of mixture of real life footage.
Yeah. Now they are swearing that it is all in-game footage. All of it.
Oh.
We will see.
We've heard that
will
before.
See,
Right.
yeah.
So, like I said, the debate is going on very heavily online whether or not this is actually just a video. But we have to. I don't want to say I'll take their word for it now, but the sooner they can put some sort of playable demo out there, even if it's like 10 minutes, the better, right? Like let people experience it, and then that'll kind of put that rumor to rest, right? And be like, no, this is actually a controllable game. But pretty crazy.
That's pretty.
Yeah,
That's
this
pretty
is.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So next one, a little bit of some. How about a happy story? At least for me, you guys will probably feel the same way. Scalpers are having a hard time getting rid of their PS5s,
Yeah, screw
and
the
I think
scalpers.
everybody's excited about this one. I don't know about you guys, but almost every store that I go into now, I see PS5s on the shelves,
Yes.
and it's a great sight. And I'm super happy that everybody who bought up 1 million of these is now stuck and can't sell them. So good luck. I hope you have to sell them for less than you paid, because that's what you get.
Yeah. How good does that feel? Because
That's
like,
great.
like we've had our PS5s for a while, gentlemen, but like,
Mhm.
while shopping for other things, you go and you kind of see that PS5 that's being offered for $850
Yep.
or like $950, $1,000, even when back there was like an even crazier shortage with them. So that feels real good. That's hot chocolate right after skiing for an
Yep.
entire day. That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I could be wrong, but I think even like graphics cards are a little bit easier to get now, are they not?
I've been seeing some of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and yeah, no, I have seen some graphics cards in stores now that I think about it, but it's usually like the ridiculously expensive ones
Okay.
that have
Mm.
that are, kind of sitting in stores, because a lot of gamers aren't the ones that are buying 4090s or
Yeah,
4080s.
4090s.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. But at
overall though,
least
it's good to see.
if you're looking for an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Switch, like you can pretty much walk into almost any store right now and get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a
Get
good
all
deal.
three.
Yeah, you get all
You can
three
get
if
all
you
three
want.
if
Yeah.
save up.
Next one I have here is the Horizon DLC. It's getting review bombed, and I think we all know why. People are upset with uh, the love interest for Aloy, and are just, as always, taking to review bombing the DLC here. To which I say, for the 100th time, grow up, please.
Grow up. It's that Last of Us backlash that they're getting there, just because like it cannot exist at all in a
Don't put
video
that in my
game.
video games.
Yeah.
That's the
You got this
mentality.
you got this alternative narrative
Yep.
going in my video game. Yeah.
How
I
are
don't. I
kids
mean,
supposed to stay straight with this in
yep.
video games?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. They're not. There's been so many games at this point. I don't know why people are still angry. But then again, people are angry at Bud Light. So I mean, that'll tell you that I don't think this is ever going to go away. But
Yeah.
I haven't played the DLC yet. I don't know if I will. I'm not that like super interested to go back into Horizon right now. Maybe later. But from what I've heard, it's a pretty good DLC.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. Barry, I'm sure Barry has played it, and we'll talk about it later.
We will talk about the game. The
Mhm.
DLC, on the other hand, I have not started. I bought it,
That's fair.
which is more than any of us have done yet. So I have bought it.
That's
I'll
true.
take that.
That is
But
true.
I will talk about Forbidden West, because I have a couple things to say about that game. But yeah,
And then the last thing I have here is kind of a no-brainer, I guess, but Microsoft is not happy with Xbox right now over the lack of exclusives. I think it's something we've all been saying and everybody's been saying. Not a single one last year for Microsoft, not a one. And Microsoft is that you can kind of imagine like Microsoft going to the Xbox division and being like, what are you doing? You bought all these studios. Where's these exclusives? And part of it ties into the whole Xbox wants to, hey, yeah, you can have this game. You want to play it on the Switch, sure, and not hoarding like Sony does. But I agree. Like we're at the point now where like you got to give us something. Not even like Redfall is not exclusive.
well, and at this
That's
point,
not.
Redfall is not going
Yeah,
to be it. It looks
right.
like so.
Yeah, 30 frames per
Yeah, that's actually,
second. It's a mess.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, where's 2 years ago was Halo, right? Was that 2 years ago? Yeah,
feel like
Infinite was 2 years ago.
yeah, it's either
It
2 or
wasn't
3.
last
It
year.
was.
And that's about the last one I can remember besides Forza. But even then, I don't know if you technically consider those exclusive. They're on PC. But yeah, we need something. So E3 time, I know E3's gone, but like they better come out with at least one or two that's going to be
Oh yeah.
exclusive to Xbox, or else they're going to have some issues, angry people, a lot of people being like, why did I buy an Xbox? I should have bought a PlayStation. A lot of that type of thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
which is
just
a
you'd
decision they're
already be
already
asking
fighting already.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're
Yeah.
like already asking yourself that,
Right.
and then you add the lack of exclusives. So
I play mainly on Xbox. I mean, everybody knows that. So to me, I'm just like, yeah, it sucks, but like I'm still playing my Xbox. But if I was the opposite, where I play everything on Sony and only play exclusives on my Xbox, I wouldn't have turned my Xbox on hardly ever last year,
Mhm.
unless it was
yeah,
like, oh, let me check out Game Pass. Okay, let me, and even on Game Pass, we have Hi-Fi Rush, and that's about it.
yeah,
I think that's all we have right this year from
hmm
Microsoft. So
Yeah.
I technically there's one. But yeah, we need like 8 or 9 at this point.
yeah. And Craig, to your point, it was officially a year since we got our Xbox Series X here in our household back in January or February. So about a year and 3 months, 4 months.
Mhm.
The first game that I've actually purchased using or purchased on Xbox was Dead Space, and it's because it felt right
Yeah.
to like buy it via that. Like I've done nothing but Game Pass and there's no exclusives to be really interested in. I don't own a physical copy of any game for Xbox.
Yep.
And I've had it for and like I'm a PlayStation guy, but I appreciate all video games. Like, like we all have everything on this channel.
Mhm.
But that's kind of embarrassing, that there's not 4 or 5 things that I'm like I can only purchase it on Xbox. And like every year that's like feels real exclusive,
Yeah.
to the platform. So
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but do you feel like I tend to check Game Pass like once a week, and I always look at like the coming soon, and there's just like nothing there. And
I
Mm,
I'm assuming that like once we get their announcements, their big showcase, that they'll add a bunch more. But like I pull it up every week, and I'm like, okay, there's Redfall, which is in a couple weeks,
yeah.
and there's what we just had like Coffee Talk 2, which I don't care.
I know.
Um, and then
That's
like
my favorite.
some other random games. But since Hi-Fi Rush, and I guess technically MLB, they're just like it's just like a desolate wasteland over there.
No, it really is. And like last case of Benedict Fox, which is
Hmm.
a highly anticipated game, at least for me, it's coming out like this Thursday, and it's like not even added on there. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's like another one, and I'm not even sure if it's coming out on Game Pass because normally when something's like, when you're able to play it day one, you could see it like 80 months prior,
Yep.
but I don't know.
Yeah, like
It's
I'm
just
kind of
not
the
as
same way
enticing.
with Craig. I use my Xbox primarily. It's a COD machine right now. Like
Hmm.
I actually can't tell you the last time I took a disc out of the Xbox to put something else other than Call of Duty in at the moment. But yeah, I feel like Game Pass is almost this thing now where if you're someone who's not like, we're the type of people that are buying every AAA game that we can find for the
Hmm.
most part. So if you're someone who's either hunting for game deals and stuff like that, or you never got to play Coffee Talk 2
Yeah.
or Monster Hunter or any of the Monster Hunter franchise, like you at least have
Yeah.
the option to explore it and pay for it all within your uh ultimate subscription. Where for us, like we kind of have it to justify, okay, I don't need to buy that game
Yeah.
physically. I can just
Yep.
yeah, I can just download it with the day one Game Pass. So that's like how I feel about it. I admit I'm like you. I do check it occasionally. Like
Hmm.
usually when COD
Mhm.
is uploading or updating, I'm checking Game Pass to see if something's been added. But
Right.
a lot of the times I just find that no, nothing's been added that's going to interest me or anything like
Yeah.
that.
I still feel
Yeah.
like I'm getting what I'm paying a year. I still feel like I'm getting my worth because I don't have to buy those big games. So like Hi-Fi Rush, I wouldn't
Mhm.
buy MLB, but I've put enough time into it that I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of it. But
Yeah.
even those other games, like I wouldn't be buying Redfall at all. If it
Oh,
wasn't on
heck
Game
no.
Pass, I wouldn't even touch it.
Mhm.
Um,
Especially now
yeah,
after all this stuff.
yeah. Yeah, and,
Jesus.
like, I mean, what are the other big games that are coming? Starfield? I wouldn't buy that.
Yeah.
but I'll play it. I guess I would buy
Still
Forza.
Stalker, we have
Stalker.
no idea about
Yeah.
still.
Stalker, yeah.
Yep. The only ones I would buy is like I would buy Halo, I would buy Forza, I'd probably buy Stalker, but that's probably it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm kind of hoping that either Wild Hearts or oh my god, the newest Like a Dragon becomes
Oh, Yakuza?
free.
Yeah.
Ishin.
Yep.
Yeah, Ishin becomes free like within this year.
Yeah.
Kind of like, how they did like a Ghostwire Tokyo shows up on Game Pass, like that kind of thing within the year. So like that's to go to your point, Barry. That's how I use my Xbox a lot. Is like, oh man, I don't need to play this game that hard because Tears of the Kingdom is out. Maybe in 3 months it'll
Right.
be on Game Pass. Like just hoping just to save like $60 with certain games.
Yeah. True. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot riding personally on their showcase in June. Like I need to see a lot.
Yeah, hopefully there's something to show. That's all they can hope for.
That's all I got. I'll give it to you, Craig.
All right. So first thing I got is Sega has purchased Rovia, sorry, which for those of you who don't know Rovia are the creators of Angry Birds. So
for how
Sega
much?
making I think 775 million.
People are still playing Angry Birds?
So here's what it is. I see what Sega's doing because Angry Birds was free. It was like one of the 3 pinnacle free games that we can think of, mobile games, a decade or more ago, that was played by a lot of people. It was what's the gem game?
Bejeweled.
Thank you. Bejeweled is
Candy
another
Crush.
one. Candy Crush. That's probably what I was thinking, but I ended up with the gem game. But I know I was thinking about Candy Crush.
Okay.
But Bejeweled, but yeah. So you have this free game, and then like every single, or at least a lot of the games that they like, it eventually, as the monetization comes into play in games more, becomes monetized.
Yep.
To the point where Angry Birds discontinued the free version of their game, and you had to buy the particular version that had the in-game purchases in order to continue playing Angry Birds. So this is what Sega's doing. Sega's buying it, and I can see what they're doing. They don't have any mobile footprint or any mobile or not any. Sorry, they don't have a tremendous mobile presence.
Right.
You spend 775 million on a studio that is essentially the Gordon Ramsay of mobile games, or at least has Gordon Ramsay expert style, about mobile games specifically. And then you take fan favorites like Sonic and you create mobile monetized games, and then you receive it on the back end. That's gotta be.
You could actually easily make a Angry Birds just with a Sonic skin on top of it.
Yeah, you could. You definitely could.
I actually like Sega. If you can't figure it out, just hire me and I'll take the millions of dollars you're gonna pay for that.
Yeah,
and I could easily get that going.
I don't know the last time I heard somebody mention Angry Birds. Like I know there's an arcade Angry Birds game. I've played that, but like I don't know the last time I've heard anybody mention, oh yeah, playing Angry Birds on their phone at all. Seems dead to me, but I guess not.
Not wrong. Yeah.
I mean, it probably was because of the fact that it also, the hype died, but it became a game where you had to spend money, and that wasn't what Angry Birds was about.
Yeah.
It was about being angry with birds. Essentially, that's what I got out of it. And then I guess on the 19th, I don't know, because I watched it later. I didn't watch it live, but there was the Indie World Showcase for Switch, where a bunch of different games were shown.
No Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Right.
No Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Yeah, that's going to be at the Microsoft announcement.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know it will.
Exactly. But like there's some cool stuff there for Switch players, like Cult of the Lamb DLC that I'm pretty sure comes out on the 24th or something like that. And then there was a couple of games that I saw that were kind of okay. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it, but there's like one called Mineka's Night Market, which is like it's this really adorable game. And I know what it's going to be for me. It's probably just going to be I have an hour before I have to work or something. Let me play something that's mindless. but it's essentially just like a puzzle game with a very cute town. There's a night market, and you have to go out, get materials, and create things to sell at this night market. And it looks adorable. There's a bunch of cat things, and I'm a cat guy, so I'm also a dog guy, but I'm a cat guy too. So I don't know. That's what I got out of the indie showcase, is what I'm saying. It's Maneka's night market. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it or not. Saw anything that you guys would be enticed by or anything like that?
There's this one game, and of course, it's a 2D anime hand drawn game. It's like Castlevania type. But I cannot remember its name. I was about to say, Craig, share your opinions while I'm trying to figure this out.
I'm not gonna lie, I like these indie showcase streams and videos. I just like zone out on, because I just 99% of the time I'm like, yeah, I don't care about any of these games at all. I don't want to be the person who's like, I only play AAA games, because indie games can have some good ones, but like I just feel like there's so many nowadays, and 95% of them are not great.
After Image is what it's called.
After Image, okay.
Yeah, After Image. Metroidvania apparently is a game as well. So.
Oh, there was also the Donkey game. Let me give Donkey his due. Animal Well, which is coming out.
Yeah,
so they showcased that
too.
Yeah, because he needs his due, right? I like Donkey. I don't know if that game's for me though.
That's fair. Man, this After Image has quite the anime cover, Barry.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm very aware that this is.
God.
But it's a Metroidvania. At least it's not Atelier.
I have yet to find a Metroidvania that has drawn me in yet. I even this past last week I was going through Game Pass trying to find something because it was like a down week, and like I tried playing Hollow Knight again. I just can't. Those games are just not for me. I don't know what it is, but like, and this looks kind of, I don't know, like I could try it, but it's already out on Steam. Or no, it comes out Tuesday. Never mind.
Tuesday, yep. Comes out the day you'll be listening to this podcast.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I don't know if I'll like it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then the last one I had, I thought this was funny. But I think there is a specific demographic out for this type of person. But there is a game called Stray Gods. It is coming out on August 3rd, and it is a role-playing musical.
Okay.
You heard that right. It is a role-playing musical. August 3rd. It's developed by Summerfall Studios, published by Humble Games. I saw this and I was like, how long before Barry wants to pre-order it on Steam? No, I'm just playing. It's
got a weird art style.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. And what I actually thought the first time I saw this is, how is it 2023 and nothing has really ever come out like that?
Yeah.
There are musical scores, definitely musical scores in games. But
it's playing right now.
Yeah,
interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know
August
about
3rd. That one. August 3rd, it's on Steam. I don't know what the role-playing portion is going to be. I didn't catch the glimpse of who's in it, so I'd have to look that up again. But that's a thing. It's on Steam, August 3rd this year.
You know what gives me a little bit of pause, though, is it almost looks like a visual novel. Like it's a whole lot of talking with branching dialogue. I'm not really seeing like a
gameplay.
Like the gameplay part of it. Interactive role-playing musical, but like I'm seeing a whole lot of this person saying this. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Visual novels are not for me, that's for sure. But it's an interesting concept.
There is somebody out there in the world who jumped for joy when they saw this game. They were like, "No way! Finally!"
They probably also like Coffee Talk.
Maybe
because that's what Coffee Talk is.
Oh,
pretty much a visual novel. Yeah.
With coffee.
Yep.
But that's all I got.
All right, so then we'll go ahead and get into games this week, in which I have started. I've started and played Advance Wars 1-2 Reboot Camp. Just had to make sure I got that name right.
Mhm.
and then I played
Yes.
Horizon Forbidden West. What about you
Without the
guys?
DLC.
Without the DLC. All right. So obviously, Dead Island 2 is the big one. I also
Yeah.
I busted out the Switch this week to play some Call to the Lamb.
Oh,
He's so excited
sorry.
over there.
No, I mean, that game came out in the summer, and I'm the
Yeah.
only one who's played it,
I
let
figured
alone
it
beat
was
it.
time. I need something on my
Yes.
Switch, right? I haven't turned my Switch on in a while.
That's a good Switch game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a big screen for that one.
True.
Craig, you're gonna be proud. Resident Evil 4 remake done.
Yes.
Beat that.
Jet skied on out of there.
Jet skied on out of there. I have final thoughts on that.
Yep.
Dead Island 2, I have started with my wife, and I have thoughts on that. And then I followed the hype, at least the hype in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I started Dredge.
Okay.
I don't know, that fishing game that everybody's been playing on Switch, or sorry, Steam.
Damn.
No, not Steam. Well, yeah, but
Well, what console is it?
I meant
know.
Twitch. I saw a bunch of people playing it on Twitch, but you can play it. I know Steam, Xbox, PlayStation.
Yeah,
I don't remember if it's on Switch.
Right.
I think it is.
All right. I'm just trying to think where we should start here. I'll suppose I'll start just with the Horizon Forbidden West stuff. Overall, like I love Horizon. I like the Horizon series. Overall, for me, I was about to start the DLC, saw that I was underleveled, and then decided, okay, I'm going to do some of the side quests to get leveled up. And I just ended up having a lot of fun with the game. The first mission, I found out my stuff is severely underpowered, so I had to go ahead and get some gear, grind some gear in order to get better bow, arrow, weapons, and whatnot. But I just wanted to mention this game, one, because I still believe it's a very big sleeper. I enjoy the heck out of this game. I've while catching up in order to get to the correct level, I am now level 42 when the recommended is 38. And on top of it too, it's just like I'm still having an insane amount of fun playing Horizon Forbidden West. And I guess for me, like that game like still never got as much due that it should have, either from the Game Awards or just like other people in general. A lot of people wrote it off as another RPG, which it kind of is, but like just I really enjoyed that game. I really haven't played it since beating it. I came in, got familiar with the controls, and it's just I don't know what it is. We talk about comfort games like last week. I don't. It's reminds me of Monster Hunter in a way. It's just fun to load in and go hunt a robotic dinosaur and do that sort of stuff in Horizon. One, because it looks pretty. Two, it sounds good. Like still the sound design stuff is really good with that game. And three, you know, I find the gameplay loop fun.
I want to see like the numbers, but do you think that this DLC is too late because it's over a year, right? Like Horizon came out in February of last year and we're in April. You think it's too late and people are just like, I don't want to go back to it?
I will say that like there is a little bit part of me that's, you know, yeah, it's been a year later, but overall there has to be like a refresher course, which I just kind of wish there was for these types of games, just because there isn't a lot of that, you know, especially after you release a DLC a year later. I may need refreshers on the game in which, you know, other than looking it up on YouTube, the game doesn't go, okay, like here are kind of the stuff you need to know, and then they jump you right into it, which would be nice. I also wanted to mention too, like the quality of life stuff that they put in for that game is great. Like the fact that Aloy doesn't need to do an animation to pick up everything and every single little item it wants you to makes it so much smoother. I was surprised at how much faster the game decides to play there. And also I thought of this because I was looking through the settings for it. I don't know why Hogwarts Legacy doesn't have it. There's a co-pilot mode in Horizon Forbidden West, which allows you to play with another person, like someone who's never played video games before, and kind of override the controls when need be. So I was really surprised to see that. It's right there in it, co-pilot mode. It would have been awesome to have that while teaching my mom to play Hogwarts Legacy. Uh,
There you go.
accessibility in video games, like Sony seems to be doing it better than
Huge.
anyone. Like
Yep.
literally anybody. Like
Mm.
I've never seen that co-pilot mode before, and I saw it, and I was immediately happy that like if some young girl, like for example, wanted to play her, Horizon Forbidden West, and I don't know if it's in Zero Dawn to be completely honest. Um, and the father or mother wants to like let her like play the game. You kind of can. You can kind of show her and teach her how to play the game, while kind of
Yeah.
being that drive. What's the word for it? I guess like the co-pilot when a kid's driving in a way, like driving passenger to like her driving the game. The
Hmm.
controls there. So I just thought it was a really interesting snippet. And, I hadn't talked about Forbidden West in a while, so now I've filled up my daily yearly quota of talking about Forbidden West on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Craig, to go to your question though, as well, I think it's been a while, but from what I've seen, the game apparently has like 1/3 of the size, or the DLC has 1/3 of the size of the original map, is what I heard. It's been a while, obviously, since Forbidden West itself came out.
Right.
Um, but if I'm putting myself into the shoes into the shoes of somebody who, which I guess I am this person, who had a game that they loved more in 2022, where like Elden Ring DLC, like I think if you love the game, like you're good with it coming out like like over a year, like I think I've heard there's enough in there that it's crazy. I hear that like I guess this, Barry, this is why you maybe had to do some leveling up. I hear there's a lot more Apex creature action where like essentially everybody over there is Apex just all the time. But or like maybe like the difficulty is rising there, and this is also a good chance to be able to utilize flight, because you get flight way later in the original game. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There's pros and cons for like the length of time, but I don't know. I think it's up to every individual gamer, maybe how they see that.
True.
But that's a very good question, though. It has been a long time, for
I'm still
DLC.
convinced this is the prettiest game on console right now.
Okay. So I mean, it's definitely up there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be the first to admit I'm notorious for buying not like the big collector's edition of games, but like the step above, or like the one that comes with the season pass, and then not even doing anything with the season pass. Like I
Yeah.
bought last year. I paid $100 for the version of WWE with the season pass, and I never even downloaded any of the extra wrestlers, not one. Or you know what I mean? And it's like I've done that so many times with games where I'm like, I know I'm gonna like this game and I'm gonna want to play the DLC, and I just never do. And I've tried to like teach myself to be like, no, you don't need the $90 version or $80 version that comes with the season pass, because once you beat the game, you're probably never going to touch it again. So you are better than I am, Barry, as far as actually buying a DLC and actually playing it.
Well, no,
Um,
to be fair, like I have similar ones like with like for example Forza Motorsport 5. You
mhm.
guys know how much I love Forza Motorsport,
Yep.
and
yeah,
I bought the Ultimate Edition. The game did come free with Game Pass, but I bought all of the DLC crap with it,
Mhm.
and I haven't played it for a year plus. I definitely haven't played it since the DLC has come out
Right.
for Horizon 5. So maybe it's just a little bit different to when it comes to like those games that maybe don't have a storyline that you're ready to jump into, because like WWE is that type of game where it's more arcadey, pick a
Right.
wrestler, play with that wrestler. Horizon's the same thing where it's select a race, go to a new area sort of thing, but they're not really driven by story. They're just driven by here's more content.
Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, next one up for me then is Advance Wars Reboot Camp 1 and 2. I have only played one, and to be fair, I've never played these games ever before. This is my first time jumping into this series. When you start up the game, it is a little weird that 2 isn't available from the get-go. You have to play, or at least start one first.
Hmm.
But this game is so much more different than Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is really my only, and I will say Final Fantasy Tactics is really my only, I guess, delve into the kind of turn-based area where there is like, and I'll admit, like I've played Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, blah 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 blah, all those games. Advance Wars is kind of in its own niche in a way. Uh, in most of these games, you're taught water is bad. You can't go into water. The troops can walk right into water. I, it took me 2 missions to figure out. Wait, I can go into water. Like it's these types of gaming tropes that have been drilled into my mind that I have to, kind of let go of. Usually, the blue team is who you play as, and the red team is who you face against. You control the orange star team. So now you're controlling the red and you're facing against blue. And there are other factions and colors. There's green and stuff like that as well. But that's beside the point. It's just like typical stuff to where, well, untypical things where Advance Wars is kind of rewiring my brain uh to like
Hmm.
kind of figure out and accept this game for what it is. And the big thing here that I find with Advance Wars is I do like the game. It's definitely not a story heavy. There's not some overarching story where there's some hidden villain or conqueror you need to go defeat, or become a legendary dragon, or gather the 4 crystals like in any of the other, turn-based games sort of things that they have you do. This game is just kind of okay, here's mission 1, you're done with mission 1, let's go to mission 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And the major thing here is that it's a little bit arcadey in a way where the person you control has a special ability that you can use every certain amount of turns. So, there's one that repairs his units. It gives him a slight boost attack. There's another one that forces a blizzard. I still don't know what that does. I don't know what affects that. Like everything turns into a blizzard and it makes it hard to walk, but I still don't know how that
Yeah.
helps him. And and then another one can like to your add luck to your soldiers so they're able to like roll
Mm.
for more damage and that kind of thing. But like overall it's one of these games where you're kind of used to like person A and person B having the same amount of attack no matter what their health is. In typical kind of war fashion, if you're against unit A that has 10 health and unit B that has 10 health, if you attack them, because they lose a bit of manpower, they lose attack as well. So it's more like being the aggressor here is good, and starting the one doing the attack is good, because in the end
Hmm.
they do less damage to you. They're and I'll say it's really, I feel like I'm going in circles. It's kind of hard to explain this type of game without playing it, but like overall, it is a good turn-based strategy game. The art style is very, very clean. It's an anime style. Who would have guessed it? Barry picked up the anime style game again. But overall, I have been enjoying the time. I do admit I am a little bit confused about what each of the units do. Like there are certain tanks that I think would be able to attack but can't attack. I need to worry about supplying my tanks with fuel so they can move. I need to worry about like capturing enemy bases so that way I can place my people in those bases and they can heal. There is just like a
Mm.
ton of rewiring of my brain that I need to use to like understand Advance Wars. Maybe the only thing I would ask is that maybe there's a point in the game where you're able to like craft units. I just wish there was a better explanation for what each of the units does and how to like get them to work and how to get them to work how you want to. Because I just find myself a lot of the time, oh wait, the unit can't do anything, so now I got to press wait because I don't know why it can't attack. It's my main thing. And there's no like in Fire Emblem, there's a grid that shows you how far you can move and how far your enemy can move, and the overlapping areas are purple. So it's like, okay, I get that. I can see there's a visual thing telling me where they can attack me. And this is something you could turn on and off as well in Fire Emblem with how far you can move. This is when they'll hit me. I want to start it, so I'm going to move one or two spaces short in order to avoid getting hit. In this game, I haven't seen that setting or anything yet, so I don't know how it works. But, other than being a little bit confused, I am enjoying Advance Wars. I do think it's a good kind of lighthearted style turn-based game where it's not all dark and gloom like any of the other ones that I've mentioned, and also just has a really bright and fun style to it. Like, if I had to give it a number, which I know we don't usually do, but I feel the need to here, like, I feel like I'd give it maybe an 8.5 out of 10 for on my end. Again, I wish the tutorial was a bit clearer, just on my end on how to play this game, because I'm about 2-3 hours in, and I'm still a little confused as to why or what units have to do in order to get in range for an attack. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never played it either. I have it. It should be here probably tomorrow for me to check out. Like, I'm interested, but I have a feeling I'm probably going to be just like you, be like, I don't know what's going on. So we'll see if it, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe something will click for me and I'll be like, oh, this is a lot of fun. Whereas something like Fire Emblem usually doesn't. Maybe it's
not
different
a huge
enough.
talky game.
Yeah,
It's not a huge talky game.
That's why.
So that's why you might like it. It's
True.
not you won't
Just
have
give
to
me
sit
the
through.
missions and let me go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Let me mission.
Yeah,
I want a mission right now.
yeah, I want a mission.
But
I don't
those are
know.
the two
I'm
games
excited
I
to
think-
try
yeah.
it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know how it is, because
Yeah.
just like me, I've had experience with these, so I had to like rewire my brain. Where I know you've played Final Fantasy Tactics,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
you may have a little bit of rewiring in your brain to do, but maybe just not as ingrained as mine.
Yeah, you played a lot
Yeah.
more of that style game than I have, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I played.
Okay. We can stick with Switch. I could do Call of the Lamb real quick.
Yes.
I've played a couple hours so far. I don't know how I feel about it yet, honestly. I'm kind of like, I see where the hook is, right? Like, all right, go do. They feel like Zelda style dungeons to me, like old school Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah, like top down NES Zelda or Super Nintendo. Go do these dungeons, defeat the enemy, bring back your I forget what they call them. Your followers, just your followers, I guess.
Your followers, yeah. Your cult
Right,
followers,
and then do like, I enjoy like the going in the chapel and doing like your preaching to
Yeah.
I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, I can definitely see
Animation.
that hook of like, all right, I'm building my, to me it's like a base, right? Or your settlement, and like, all right, I'm gonna have this guy, he's gonna chop wood, this guy's gonna chop stone, this guy is just gonna go over here and worship me because I'm the greatest. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where the hook is. It is pretty good. Like, I feel like it's a perfect Switch game, just to kind of pick up and like, all right, I'm gonna run through a dungeon real quick, and then I'm gonna run back and make sure all my people are fed. Let me go cook them something real quick. Let me go throw some preaching at them real quick, and then I'm good for the day or whatever. It's not an overly long game, right?
It's not. It'll probably be like a 15-hour, maybe 20 for you.
Okay. But yeah, I can see where like your love for it and a lot of people's love for it is there. It's like, it's a good game. Am I gonna get the whole way through it? We'll see. Like, I have every intention of trying my best to get through it. But Advance Wars, I'll have that on the Switch as well. But I thought it was the perfect thing to start on the Switch because I don't really have anything else on the Switch, and I haven't for a while. The last thing was Mario and Rabbids, and like, I stopped playing that a long time ago.
Same.
So this is like the perfect, oh yeah, let me do one of these missions or areas before bed, and then I'm good after like 30 minutes or whatever. So yeah, I don't think I would play it as much if I was playing it on PC. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I probably would have put it down already. So I'm still going to be playing it. We'll see. Like, next week I'll have to do a check-in and see if like I stopped playing or if I'm still playing it. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
That'll be the determining factor of whether or not I'm just like, nah, I'm done with that game.
Yeah, of course.
or if I'm like, no, actually now I'm fully hooked in and I need to go play it right after we're done recording. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to jump into Dead Island? We could do Dead Island. Okay.
Here we go. I should have brought some popcorn for this.
Okay. First thing I want to say about this game is we are so many years removed from the first Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. And this game, for all the turmoil this game has had and how long it's taken, it has no business being as good as it is. Honestly.
Okay. There we
like
go.
it is, there's certain things in games that draw me in immediately, and they're really dumb. One of them is sound, and like for me, like the sound of moving stuff around in Resident Evil in your like when you're rearranging, like that clicking noise. I love that sound.
Yeah.
I love all the sounds in Resident Evil. For me, like starting Dead Island, even the walking sound, I was like, oh my god, I love that walking sound. It's so good,
Yes.
so good.
Yeah.
It's so stupid to say that, but yes. I will say that if you don't enjoy a game where it's like, here's your mission, because it's not open world, which kind of threw me for a
It's
loop.
not.
It's not open world. You're going into different areas and doing missions. But when you start a mission, if you're the type of person who does not like going into an area to start a mission and getting distracted 35,000 times by, oh, I need to go pick this up. I'm going to go pick this up. Oh, I can go in here. Let me go in this house. Then you're not going to like the game because they give you so much stuff to do. And
Oh my God, it's everywhere.
I feel like they put so much time into like no one house looks like another house. Like it's just everything is completely different. I'm gonna go in this house. Oh my god, this house is a house where a bunch of streamers lived. This is cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go in this house. All right, this person's house is like, oh my god, what happened here? This house is full of blood. What is happening? And it's just like every house to me is like a different story, and I have to I have to go into every single one. So I'm on like the third mission, I think. I'm at the movie studio. I think that's the third mission. And I've spent so much time already in the game just wandering. And I've been having a blast. But to me, the star of the show is something that I've wanted from a game in forever. And it's what we got promised with Atomic Heart, and it didn't work. Was what Dead Island calls the gore system is incredible. You know, like we remember the first trailer for Atomic Heart when you're like beating up the robots and they're like, oh, if you hit them here, there's going to be a dent. Or if you hit them here, there's a dent. And then the game came out and that didn't really happen. Like that's what Dead Island's doing, but it works. Like if I'm using a sharp instrument and I hit them in the leg, guess what? Their leg's coming off. Or if I'm using a hammer and I hit them in the face, guess what? Their eyeball just popped out of their socket. Or I cracked their skull open and I can see their brain. Or I hit them in the chest and their flesh fell off and I can see their heart or their lungs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like their ribs are cracked. It's incredible. Like the amount of detail they put into that. And it's gross. Like this game is gross. It's over the top gross. But it's so impressive what they're doing. Like I have so much fun. Like, oh, what happens if I hit this zombie here? Oh, what happens if I hit him here? Oh my God, that shouldn't have worked, but it did. Like that kind of stuff is just incredible to me. And if it wasn't for that, I feel like I'd be getting a little bored because it's at its heart. It's here's a melee weapon. Go beat up 50 zombies and complete your mission. We might throw a gun at you if you're lucky. But for the most part, here's a hammer. Here's a sword. Go do this. Finish your mission. Okay, go do another one. Like it would get old real quick. So I think them adding in the gore system just like keeps it not fresh, but like exciting for me. And it's fresh definitely gore. I think we can safely say this is going to be a contender for biggest surprise this year. I think.
You know, I like where you're going with that. I like where you're going with that. So what I like to kind of build off of what you said there is if it's not an open world game like the first Dead Island, which I believe is 100% completely fine because like you said, every square inch of the small areas that you could tell they spent so much time creating tells a story in every single building on every single corner, so on and so forth. And you know, my wife and I played together, which the multiplayer is pretty freaking fantastic. I'll get to that in a second. We spent so much time just wandering off the beaten path just because everything told a story. Usually a house will have one or two collectibles in there. It's usually either a letter that somebody wrote in there, and that's why they're not there, because you kind of like discover their fate because maybe you killed them as a zombie 20 minutes ago, you know, or like the streamer house. I know exactly the house you're talking about. All you had to say was streamer house, and I knew exactly what you're talking about. It had a bowling alley in it. It had an arcade. It had all these awesome things in it. And you're stopping and you're looking at just like all of this love and tenderness. We're in. We beat the first boss.
Okay. Yep.
To show you where we are, and we're going back to Bel Air, which is the first area that you're in after beating that boss. For everybody at home, there's no real spoiler there. You actually see the first boss in a lot of the gameplay trailers.
Yeah.
But it's already just quite impressive. Now, as far as just to not beat like a dead horse into what you've already said, because I agree with the things that you said there, but the multiplayer is fantastic. You play 3 missions. It takes like 45 minutes to do it. They tutorial you a little bit. And in comparison to another game that's kind of like it, like Dying Light 2, when you join somebody's game, your progression progresses with the host's progression. So my wife joined my game, which means that if she wants to play on her own or wants to play with somebody else, she will start where we finished. It's not just my progression. So take that, Redfall.
Yeah.
Because that's Redfall's problem already. That's one of 18 of Redfall's problems. Take that, Dying Light 2. I'm pretty sure Dying Light 2 didn't have that feature.
Correct.
Or anybody, or any. So while it's not crossplay, and I feel like the game should have been modernized so that my wife and I could play with you, Craig, on our PlayStations to your Xbox. While it doesn't have that, which you can make fun of them for, they do have like a system like that really works. It's very easy to get into a game with somebody. You can limit it to just friends, invite only, all of those accessible choices so that somebody just doesn't jump in your game that you don't know.
Yep.
The loot system, and I feel like I do need to talk about the multiplayer because this is a multiplayer type of game. The loot system, all key items do get passed throughout the group based off of who picks it up, but your own individual consumable loot, stuff for crafting, you do have to pick it up if somebody else finds it. So if somebody grabs it and says, hey, there's some chemical over here, you got to go get the chemical. But if you pick up like a key that you're going to need later for a lock, it just gets dispersed amongst the other two or one player that you're playing with, just so y'all know. I love the flesh system. System is great. They really fleshed it out with that system.
They did.
I can tell that maybe the melee might get monotonous by the 15th hour, but I can't tell you that for sure because, like you said, the gore system is great. What happens when I hit the zombie here? The last thing I did before I turned that game off is I was beating somebody with an electrified rake. And
just another
there's
day.
all of those.
Yeah.
Just another day.
Yep.
So I don't see there being a incredible cast of zombie characters. There's going to be a bloater probably. There's already you could already tell there's probably going to be some type of larger person, which there is based off the part that my wife and I got to. So the zombie thing, it's kind of hard to recreate new zombies to put in video games because, you look across, there's always something that's called a screamer, or a bloater,
or a runner,
or a runner, or a tank, or so whatever. But it looks beautiful. Can't wait to finish the game. There's no way I'm not. I do suggest playing it with a friend though, because there is that camaraderie as well if you can. Those of you at home and who are watching and listening. So it's a great game.
What's funny too is because of that gore system, when you're fighting these bosses or even some enemies that have a bigger amount of health, is when you get to the end of fighting even that first boss, is they are so mangled by the time they're almost dead. It's hilarious. They don't have a face anymore. They may have one arm because you hacked one off, or maybe they're you cut off both legs, so they're crawling after you. It's just incredible the amount of detail that went into something so simple. They didn't have to do that. They could have kept the bosses as just here's their health bar. This is what they're going to look like until you beat them. But they didn't do that. The one gripe I have though, and I just remembered, I was dead set on bringing this up. Oh my God, stop asking me about Alexa. Are you kidding me? Did you get that in yours?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. So I don't know if maybe it's just an Xbox thing. Maybe, I don't know. I'm assuming it's in both, but when I was when you play the beginning and you get to a certain point and there's a pop-up that comes up that's hey, we have this setting where if you have an Alexa based device, you can sync it to the game and then you can call out, because some of the zombies have names, right? They'll
like
have actual names.
Yeah.
If there's a zombie on screen with a name, you can say the name, your Alexa will pick it up, and then the zombie will respond in the game, which is kind of a cool idea, right? I don't have any Alexa-based items. I have Google everything, right? It's asked
I
me
see where
like
this is
6
going.
times. Hey, do you want to set this up? No, I don't. Okay. It reminds me of like some of the gimmick stuff they used to do in like the 360 era, where it was like, I don't know if you remember like the NBA games. If you had Connect hooked up to your Xbox, if you swore, you got a technical. It's
Yeah.
like it reminds me of that kind of stuff where they're like,
Yeah.
hey, if you call out to a group of zombies, they'll hear you and come over and you can lure them into a trap. I get the
Madden did
idea.
too.
Yeah, Madden. Yep. Like I get the idea of it, and that's fine. Like it's an interesting thing, but like if I say no the first time, stop asking me 6 more times. I had to like
Or
go
there
into
should
the
be a
menus.
don't ask anymore sort of
I had to go
button.
into the
Yeah.
menus and turn it off. It was
Oh,
in there.
They
gotcha.
didn't
But I was
they
like,
didn't ask us that.
really? I wonder if
No, I don't
it's because multiplayer, maybe? I don't know. Or
I don't
maybe it is
know.
only an Xbox thing, but yeah, it was interesting. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that done in a game in a while. And then an hour later, I'm like, if you don't stop asking me this, I swear to God. But yeah, other than that, the game's great. I love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so very quickly, Resident Evil 4 remake.
You met the man
Still
in the
top
oven.
I met the man in the oven, and I no longer trust freezers
Nope.
as well.
Nope.
Um,
How do you feel
that
about
game
those
is
guys? You don't have to spoil anything, but how do you feel about those enemies?
I love them, man.
They're great.
I love how they're introduced.
Mm-hmm.
I love how you can't immediately do anything about them.
Yep.
I love when you find out what you can do about them, and then you're like, all right, revenge.
Yep.
I love the animation that they do. There's a specific like floppy way that they attack you, and that's the only way I'm going to describe it to not ruin it for Barry or anybody else. And that is unnerving.
Yep.
I didn't find them incredibly difficult after you find out what to do about them.
Right.
But that's the point. That's the point of the game. You know, like it was the same thing with the chainsaw guys. There was a couple of those guys towards the end. And I was like, oh, I know you. Except I have a shotgun and a Magnum now. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have just the standard handgun at the beginning. But those things are incredible. They're one of my favorite enemies right now. I think I'm just off I'm on the honeymoon hype of the game. I think the game's awesome. I think the original deserved exactly what all the hype that it had for anybody who played it and could not wait for this remake. And I told you so to everybody else. Even with the stuff that they took out, because after I was done, I looked up stuff that they took out and that they rearranged. I think that it was fantastic. Final boss was not too difficult, but I at least not in comparison to some of those others. I honestly think Homeboy that you fight, the second time,
it was tough.
That was the hardest fight for me.
Mm-hmm.
He hit like a truck, but as far as what you can get, as far as like just the enemy types, and like you never really felt safe in specific parts, it's such a great game, man. It's my favorite game right now that I've played this year. And I know I've said
Hogwarts?
this on it took out
Okay.
it took out Hogwarts.
Interesting.
Hogwarts was, for me, spent a little bit too much time in the oven in terms of what I was playing. Like by the end of it, I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, let me just finish it real quick. Like this other area didn't need to exist. RE has perfect pacing. It's a different game though. It's not an open world game, but RE has perfect pacing. Every area has its own dynamic and its own personality. I guess I'm pretty big on that now. It's like I want different areas with their own designated personality. You have a village section, you have another section that has, like, and there's just a progression. And the enemies kind of progress with it too. Even the fodder progress with it too. Once you get out of the village, there's a whole different fodder that you're fighting, and they're different and a little bit more crafty and so on and so forth. So the Ashley mechanic is great too. having to worry about her. It felt good when you didn't.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say, Craig, like I texted you guys with it. I think chapter 13 is my favorite because of that portion.
Yeah.
Um, it was completely different. It's tense, and it was completely different from the whole action portion of the game.
Yep.
So the fact that they were doing that mere hours from the end,
yeah,
is awesome. So I love them.
I always looked at it as like Resident Evil 4 is the action-oriented version of a Resident Evil game, but that section is them being like, we're still a Resident Evil game. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you can go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, good.
I was going to say really quickly, if you take, for anybody who hasn't played this, but maybe played Resident Evil 8, if you took the second main area of Resident Evil 8 and you put it after the Fish Boys portion, or even after the industrial portion, that's what that part felt like to me. It was like, look, you've been shooting a lot of things. You're doing your thing. That's great. You have all these grenades and these flashbangs and such like that. Boom.
Yep.
Deal with it. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
So like that's what that felt like to me. Like it felt like the baby part, but like at the if it was at the end of Resident Evil 8.
Don't say that, Barry won't play it. He heard the baby part and he had flashbacks.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Resident Evil 4 and set it over here now and never touch it again. It's definitely not as bad as the baby section.
Oh, it's not as bad.
I still plan on playing Resident Evil 4. Like there's I will still play through it. When I'm playing it, I am having fun. It just, much like the other games that come out this year, get lost in the shuffle. That's
Yeah.
That's fair.
What I will say is the last thing is this is the first game that I have played that I've finished and almost restarted immediately. I'm not a guy that does that a lot. That's just not my gaming style because I normally have something waiting. Even if I know, Craig, that you have stuff waiting too, but you like replaying stuff, and I admire that.
Yeah, he's on his third playthrough of Dead Space.
That's true.
I know that's what like that's a quality I almost wish I could have with games that I really enjoy. I don't know, but I almost. Had I not finished it at 11 p.m. the night that I finished it, I would have restarted it immediately. Yeah. I think it was 11 or midnight when I finished the night that I finished it. But like, had I not, I would have restarted. Just the gutsy, knee jerk.
Yep.
Like, let's do it again. Like, I loved that. I want more. I'm going to start straight from chapter 1 again. Let's go. Like, so.
Yeah.
Recommend it to everybody. Everybody. Get scared easily or not.
Yeah. Suck it up and play it.
Play it. And then 2 minutes with Dredge, because that's about as long as I played. Dredge is a fishing style. No, it's a great game. I just didn't play it long. I started it today. Dredge is by Black Salt Games and Teen 17. Just wanted to shout out to both of them because I think they have something great here. It's a fishing kind of, I don't know if it's RPG. You do have to build your boat and you have those mechanics and such like that. Here's why it makes me feel like a roguelike, or at least a rogue style game. It's not a roguelike, but this is what reminds me of like a rogue game. It's like they don't tell you much. They throw you into it. You're a fisherman. You've been contracted to fish at this particular like small town. Your boat crashes on the way there. That's all you know. You get to the town. The mayor's like, hey, you got to fish. I see that you don't have a boat. Here's a boat. You owe me money. Thank you very much. So there's a day and night cycle. And the time passes where either if your ship is moving or if you're fishing. Now, you can only carry a certain amount of fish on your boat. You pick up the fish. There's a small mini game with fishing. It's not too hard. It's basically like it's going back and forth. Stop it when it's on the right area. And you have like a Resident Evil 4 style or Tetris style in a combined way capacity on your boat. So you have to move the fish around and rotate them so that you can create the most amount. Here's where the game is dope. The day-night cycle. During the day, don't have to worry about much. Don't hit a rock. Don't do things like that. At night, a fog sets in and different monsters come out. You also have a sanity meter that goes down, especially if you don't have any light on your boat, the more you're out to sea at night. So you have to judge, how long am I going to stay out and get these fish for more money before night flows in? When it gets to like 5 p.m. and you start seeing the sun go down. Am I close enough to a dock? And depending on how you push it, like you can get attacked and killed, or your fishing vessel can get destroyed at night specifically because you either hallucinate because of your meter, or you get attacked by different creatures. And I'm pretty sure like inspired by like actual, like, I don't know if the Kraken is there yet. I haven't gotten attacked by the Kraken, but it gets pretty gnarly when you start getting towards the end there, especially because you build up your boat, then you get to trudge out longer. And then, but like, how far do you go? You see that thing off in the distance. There's a fish you can't catch, you haven't caught yet. How far do you go? Like, so that's where I think a lot of the playing with everybody's head kind of thing goes with this game, which is why people like it. I like it. Um, I have the day off tomorrow, so I know that I'm probably going to play like straight 5 to 6 hours of this at least. But I see where the hype is. It's only $25. You can get the deluxe edition for 30. Don't buy any add-ons. I think they offer a couple of add-ons. Don't do that. But it's good so far. The art style is pretty drab. It's like when you go into towns, people look real musty and like they look like they've lived lives, like that type of thing. But I recommend it.
Looks like it'd be a good Game Pass game.
Yeah.
It would be. I was going to wait. Speaking of waiting for Game Pass, I was going to wait, but I was like, you know what? I had like a couple of like, I think I had $10 in my PlayStation, like from pathetic excuse for Game Pass that they're trying to do on their end. I had $10 lying around. I was like, I'll pay 15 for this just to play it now. I need something to get to Jedi Survivor.
Yeah,
is what I need.
Yeah.
Fair.
So anyway, I think it's a good game.
Looks interesting.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, now it's on to movies and TV shows for this week, which for a lot of us, there is, at least for me, we have the Mandalorian finale, Extrapolations finale, new episode of Ted Lasso, great as always. I then went ahead and saw Suzume. I then saw Super Mario movie, and I have to talk about the first episode of an anime called Oshi No Ko.
Oh dear Lord.
I'm sorry. I just loved. I looked at. I know Craig and I maybe didn't make eye contact, but when you said that, I looked at Craig. Like,
all right. I kept it pretty simple. Obviously, Ted Lasso is great, but Mandalorian, and I watch Power Rangers once and always.
Once.
Heck yeah, the Power Rangers movie. Does that count as anime?
It's not animated.
Listen, it's my childhood. You leave it alone.
Yeah,
it's not anime, and I've got nothing wrong with Power Rangers. Yeah.
Listen, they do all the hand motions like anime.
They do.
They do. Yeah, I can agree with that.
It was a light week for me. Very, very light. So I'll let you gentlemen do most of the talking, but I will tell you that you'll be proud of what I did watch and what I spent most of my time watching.
Ted Lasso.
I started Dark. Well, I've been watching Ted Lasso. I started Dark this week.
Yeah, there we go. Good, ain't
started Dark.
Join the club.
Almost at the end of the first season.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's dark. It's dark.
It's good.
Dark and confusing. That's what it should be called.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
All right. So I'll make Barry's anime corner quick for the most part.
Okay.
Movie Suzume. Directed. Sorry, give me a second because I'm gonna forget who's directing the movie. He's done the. So I'm familiar with his two other movies, which are Your Name and Weathering with You. This is kind of the next movie here. That's right. The director is Makoto Shinkai. He's kind of known for making these cross world time travel story, love kind of movies. Just as an example, and I'll say it. Your Name and Weathering with You have made me cry toward the end. That's just the type of movies that that are fun. Suzume is not that type of movie. There's a lot more kind of action to it, primarily in look. Stop if you've heard me before with this one, but girl's kind of born on an island. There's a random guy that she meets that's looking for ruins. She she tells him where the ruins are. She gets to school, is worried about the guy, goes to the ruins, gets there before she does, accidentally unlocks a temporal portal to another world in which worms come out of doors, and if the door stays open too long, the worm causes earthquakes and could destroy and could destroy the Japan. Yeah, stop if yeah,
Okay.
you guys never heard of this one before.
Did you see this in theaters, Barry?
I did, yeah, I paid for it, yeah.
Oh my god.
I
What do you
paid for
mean?
Oh my god.
it. Yeah.
Continue.
I enjoyed it though.
Okay.
The animation is like stellar, insane. Like Craig, I've gotten you onto Demon Slayer just sometimes because
Mhm.
of the animation. The animation in this movie is top notch. It is insane how good everything looks. But it's kind of it's not really your sad love story movie. Again, there's a lot more action to it because they literally travel Japan to kind of close these doors so that the worms don't come out and destroy Japan. That's pretty much the basis of the movie, and I think that's the first time I've actually explained the movie clearly enough that someone didn't look at me with a confused face. To be honest, I'm getting better at it. But overall, like Suzume, I enjoyed it. Good movie. And in case you don't just want my opinions on it, it's rated 7 out of 10 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, it is rated 96, and Fandango, it's rated 98. So,
He had to flex. He had to
yeah.
flex on that.
I don't know what
Yeah.
it is where, for whatever reason, anime movies always end up super high. Like they're always
And
high
horror
regardless.
movies super low.
Yep, every
And
time.
horror movies super low.
Yep.
Sorry.
Was there a lot of people in the theater to see this? Like, is it like a Demon Slayer type event or not? I'm just curious.
So
Like,
I went in there, the theater was maybe half full.
okay,
Uh,
that's not
and
bad. Yeah.
I had seen it a couple days afterward. Like, this movie's just breaking all types of records in Japan
Okay.
for sure. Like, this most likely will be the most, like, and I think it's already like in Japan, it's the number one like grossly animated film in
Okay.
Japan. So it's just like keep an idea for that out. Like, there's a reason these movies are popular, and it's not just it's not just because I like anime. It's because the movies are good. I I watched it in sub. You can watch it in dub as well. Both seem to be equally as good. Just keep that in mind. Suzumi, if you're willing to watch an anime film for I think it is like a 2-hour movie, go ahead and go ahead and watch it.
Okay.
And then just super quick, there is an anime that's kind of making everybody watch it. It's called Oshi No
Food
Ko.
Wars.
No. Not Food Wars. Stop me if you've heard this before. We'll play this game again. Where
All right, let's do it.
it's so it's a take on the idol industry, kind of like, and that's pretty exclusive to Japan. We really don't have idols here in a way, but 16-year-old idol gets pregnant, goes to a doctor. Instead of getting
Oh my
the
God.
babies aborted, much like much like most of the times these things happen, she decides to have the kids. On the day of the birth, the doctor gets killed and gets reincarnated as the baby for of the idol.
Barry, what
But
are you
still-
watching?
That sounds like a Friends episode. That's
Oh my God.
but still retains memories of his past life as a doctor. Is it strange? Yes. The main thing here is that that's it. It's a manga. Usually
Oh
these
my
episodes are
God.
like about 30 minutes. This is an hour and a half prologue. I sat through an hour and a half and I didn't know what this was. But I decided to watch it. Overall, like, you're gonna know if you like it if you watch the first episode. That's very clear to me. Like, if you're willing to watch through the first hour and a half, you're probably gonna watch it. But the two, you guys just continue to laugh at me, and it's just
I can't stop. I can't
Oh
stop
my
laughing.
God.
I'm really trying. I'm trying. All right, go ahead.
66% of this episode is just kind of slice of life. It's really the last half of it, the last third of it. It gets really insane, gets really dark. Of particular things, I don't want to spoil kind of what happens in it, but it's surprisingly well done. I thought it was incredibly animated as well. But I've again, this is something I had seen on Twitter, and I was like, okay, if everybody's talking about it, I'll watch. Watched it, wasn't disappointed. That's all.
Okay.
I respect that.
Okay.
Yes, please. I can't wait to hear this question. I can't.
All
This
right.
is
Great.
So I'm trying to like I was doing some digging while you're talking just to kind of get like a sense. Um my my only question is this the type of anime that's gonna inevitably bring people over who are into underage girls? Is that where we're headed with this? Or is this something different? Because I'm
uh,
getting that feeling.
well.
Oh no.
Remember, like idols and stuff, like in
Right.
Japan, like it's a
Right.
different culture. Like 16 years old is
I'm
what.
seeing like the dark side that you're talking about, and I'm like, oh my god, this is wild.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so like that part, I'm like, okay, that could be somewhat interesting. But anytime I hear like, not gonna lie, you hear like anime with an underage girl pregnant, I'm like, oh boy, you know what I mean? Like that's my immediate
Mm,
thought.
It's
But it
not. Yeah, like that. That's not the crux of it. It
okay,
is
okay.
literally like the first episode is primarily a
And
little
then
bit
you have
about that.
talking toddlers, from what I can
Yes,
tell.
the toddlers do talk.
Okay, okay,
So
I'm
that
following.
is there's well, when
huh.
you can keep your memories of your past life, yeah, you're gonna
Sure,
remember how to talk.
sure.
So
So they were
again,
talking as soon as they were born.
yeah, they
Okay,
had the ability to, yeah.
okay, okay. Interesting. That's wild.
Sick.
Again, stop me if you heard of it before, but no one no one
Oh
stopped me.
dear
These
lord.
Nah, yeah.
you only get this stuff out of Japan, it feels like. But
Yep.
just overall, I was extremely surprised with how the first episode was. Again, like an hour and a half is a straight up movie. For
Mhm.
most
It
of it,
is.
I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting it, but I enjoyed it. And at the end of that first episode, like it got me hook, line, and sinker with the darker aspect of things. Just because it's nice to see that it's not just I don't know. There's a lot of pretty lights and singing and stuff like that, but it's a lot more. It's kind of like a look into, I guess, maybe what like celebrity singers life could be in America if I had to kind of relate the two in
Okay.
a way. We hear about, like, how Amanda Bynes and Lindsay Lohan kind of went through the all of these issues from being childhood stars. A lot of the times
Oh
these
yeah.
idols have the same issues that they come up with. It's just an anime form.
I feel like I
But
hear a lot of suicide among idols as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
for sure. And yeah, like I would say if you're interested, just watch the first episode. You're going to know if you're going to like it. Let's be honest, an hour and a half of someone's time isn't that much to ask for, but it just depends on,
Mm-mm.
you're going to know. You're going to know if you're going to like it. I will stand by that by the first episode. Won't make
Okay.
you watch,
Okay.
a whole season to figure out if you like it. First episode will tell you.
Got you.
All right, you know what? I'll let you guys talk for a second before I
Yeah.
get into Super Mario movie. Jesus.
All
He's
right.
got to calm down.
So
I'm just out
Mandalorian
of
ended.
breath.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know you watched that too, Barry, but we got the end
Yeah.
of the Mandalorian. I enjoyed this season quite a bit. I'd still stick by the fact that I think it started off extremely slow.
Mhm.
But it definitely
Absolutely.
went some places, set up some people for another show, obviously. And you know, I'm almost at the point where I'm enjoying the stories, but I feel like they're trying too hard to incorporate Grogu at this point. And I know it's their money maker. Like it is. Like 90% of people are probably watching the show for what they would call Baby Yoda. Um, but I don't know. It just he has a purpose in the show. It's not like he doesn't, but I feel like it's almost like too much at this point of him. Where I would personally like to see some other characters more. Give me more Bo-Katan and that kind of stuff. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a very good season, on par with the rest of the seasons. I enjoyed it. Once I got past the first two episodes, I'd say, then I was in the groove, and I was like, okay, we can speed through these now. So yeah, I think it's a worthy entry in the series. I don't know how many more they do. They kind of set it up where they could just let it be at this point, right? Like it could be done if they wanted to.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, and I'll kind of just agree with everything you
Yeah.
said. Like those first couple episodes, we really don't feel like we have a direction
Yeah.
at all, and then the final three episodes kind of put us in a line where it was like, okay, here we go, light, you know, for lack of a better term, we're going light speed to the plot.
Yep.
For Star Wars there, so just overall, yeah, I agree with all that. Whether or not. I feel like there was an interview saying that like they're gonna keep making the Mandalorian until they just stop, people stop watching it.
Yep.
And for the most part, I just feel like how much more of the Mandalorian do we get until like Grogu, for example? We have some sort of time skip, and he's finally, because I feel like he's
Adult.
set up to be,
Yeah.
yes, some sort of main part of Star Wars in
Yep.
some way. And we have the Ashoka series coming out, and we've already heard that Rey is coming back for the next Star Wars trilogy. So it's
Yep.
like, where does Grogu make an appearance in that series? Is he a lot older? What is teenage Grogu? Is he like Groot, or anything
Yeah.
like that? Like, it's sort of strange to think about.
A lot
But
of angst.
yeah, he's definitely set up to
Yeah.
be some sort of main part of it. And how much of the Mandalorian we get, is kind of just up there. But I agree with you too. Like, for me, Bo-Katan was the best part of the season.
Yeah. And I would almost, my personal opinion, I would much rather them end it here. I know it's kind of set up to like, oh, he has some other stuff to do, but like, just, there's a million Star Wars shows and movies and all that. And like, I've gotten my complete arc of The Mandalorian now. And I would much prefer him to let's just end it there. He's in a good spot. Let's go to these other characters, and we could always bring him back later in a movie or, whatever you want to do. That's fine. But I don't think we need another season or two or whatever they may be thinking. But it makes money, so that means he'll probably make more. And
Exactly.
It's Pedro Pascal, and anything he's in right now is literally printing money.
It is literally.
And then I have to go into Power Rangers once and always. Everybody's been waiting for this movie. With, everybody's like, man, I can't wait to watch Power Rangers.
Once and always.
Power Rangers is such a big part of my childhood that I have to, like, when I look at it,
Same.
and like the original Power Rangers, and I really appreciate that they still included the Yellow and Green Ranger are still in this movie. Obviously not played by those actors, but like they still have a part, and I appreciate them doing that. And there's a nice thing at the end as far as like an in memoriam for them. But everybody else, when I first started the movie, because it's like an hour and a half, or no, it's an hour. It's like an hour.
Okay.
Oh wow.
It's not very long. And I was watching it, and the first thing I thought of was the acting this bad when I was a kid? The answer is yes. It's always been
Yes, it
terrible.
was.
It's always been
Yes, it
terrible.
was.
And once, like, I started it, I got about 20 minutes in, and the first thing I did, I was like, this acting is atrocious. I need to know where it's at on Rotten Tomatoes. And I pulled Rotten Tomatoes, it's at like an 88%. I'm like, holy cow. So everybody else is overlooking the acting too. Okay, cool. I'm going to go back in. Let's just enjoy it for what it is. The girl that they bring in as the Yellow Ranger's daughter might be one of the worst actors I've ever seen in my life. She is absolutely awful. It's very evident they found somebody who could do martial arts, and acting was a secondary opinion. But again, if you go back to original Power Rangers, it was the same thing. They didn't bring those people in to act. They brought them in because they could do some form of martial arts. But seeing everybody back is nice. The acting you can kind of push aside and just enjoy that, like, hey, there's the Blue Ranger and the Black Ranger, and there's Rocky, the Red Ranger. Now, the Pink Ranger is not the original Pink Ranger. It's not Kimberly. I don't know why she didn't show up in this movie. Who knows? But I believe it was, I forget her name, but I believe she was from like the second generation.
She made a comment.
Hasn't she had?
What's that? Who?
She
Kimberly?
made a comment. The actress that played Kimberly made a comment saying that she did not want to, and I guess it's fairly fair to say this. She did not feel comfortable getting into like that spandex thing now, spandex
Right.
Power Rangers uniform after.
Here's the thing though, when, like, I get that, and that's completely fine, but like, okay, take for instance, I'm going to take the Red Ranger. I'm going to take Rocky, right? They bring Rocky back, and you can tell, like, this man is, I mean, he's probably what, 50 at this point, late 40s, early 50s, not in the same shape he was, and that's fine. But when they, when they morph into their suits, that's not Rocky, because that dude is super skinny. You know what I mean? So none of them are doing their choreographed stunt work when they're in the suits. None of them.
Okay.
Because it's very obvious that none of those actors are in those suits. So I mean, I get that, but like, she wouldn't have been in those suits. Even the girl
Yeah,
they
and
bring in is very obviously not the person in the suit. It's like blatantly obvious.
well, like,
And they do
but like,
good.
I was gonna say that like it's Amy Jo Johnson
Yeah.
is the actress.
Mhm.
That actress I know from another show that I watched years later, which is called Flashpoint, which is
Mhm.
a Canadian show essentially about a tactical team that goes into high risk situations. They're essentially like SWAT times 4,000. So like I don't know why she made that comment in particular. I mean, like I don't know where her like where she's at right now in terms of getting comfortable in spandex, but
Right.
like she maintained a specific level of athleticism to do that role as well throughout her life. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just had to chime in with that, but
Right.
continue.
Yeah. But like, all that aside, like, it just reminded me of sitting in front of my TV on a Saturday morning and watching Power Rangers. Um, I I don't agree with them when they form the Megazord. I don't agree with them going fully CGI, because there was something about it not being CGI back in the day, where it was like that chunky, like, puppeteering work
Yeah.
that was it. And for them to go full CGI, and it's very obvious throughout this movie that their CGI budget was like $10. Like, when you get to that big ending where they're forming that and they're fighting the big, like, villain, it looks bad. Like, it's just, if you can't do the CGI, like, just do the puppet, man, because we all like that. It was so, like, I don't know, if you go back and watch that and like the punches are like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just super, I don't know, bad, but I just think the CGI made it worse. But everything else was like, it's exactly what I wanted. It's a stupid, cheesy story. Rita Repulsa is like, it's still her in the voice, but it's like mechanical. So like, you
Oh,
don't see her face at all. So it's her just doing the voice, and that could be something where she was like, I don't really want to put that outfit on anymore. I'm too old, maybe, or I just don't want to do it. But I can get behind her still lending her voice to it. And that's where I brought up like the anime gestures. I never realized how anime Rita Repulsa is when she talks with her hands. My God, is she like all over the place, and like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, I had such a fun time with it. If you're like us with that, memory as a child, you're gonna enjoy it. I don't know. I bet you kids, if they watch it now, probably are gonna be like, "This is dumb." I had it on a little bit when my kid was watching for like 10 minutes, and she was like, "This is stupid." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you had to be there.
it was
You
awesome.
had
It was
to be
awesome.
there. You're spoiled
Yeah.
now with how good stuff looks. Like, back then, like, we all believed that like they were the coolest ninjas in the world,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
like they were just like, oh man, they can't beat the putties, but man, when they morph, look out, putties, because you're just about to get just absolutely annihilated. So,
Yeah.
it's man, I thought it was a good time. It seems like everybody else does too. You just have to overlook the stuff that we overlooked as kids, honestly.
Yeah. They had somebody from everybody there. They kind
Mhm.
of they essentially went across the like ethnic spectrum,
Yep.
or most of the ethnic spectrum. It's hard to go across the entire, but like they had somebody for everybody. They had a black ranger who also happened to be black, which was funny.
Mhm.
But like they had they had like a bunch of different things that like you were able to kind of you could see yourself in one of the Power Rangers
Yeah.
growing up. You wanted to be, you either were, you had a nerdiness like Billy, or,
Yep.
a steadfast leadership like, like the Red Ranger, or like you hated everything, but then like got friends like Tommy did. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You had like something to look at with everybody, I don't know.
And growing up,
Childhood.
Kimberly, at least like in my area, Kimberly was everybody's first crush.
Yeah, it was either
Everybody
that
loved
or
It was
the
always,
girl. It was either her or the girl from Saved by the Bell. It was like
Yeah.
always one of those two.
Mhm.
yeah.
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 Yeah, I was just like, "Oh, yeah, Kimberly's the best." But yeah, it's, It's a great time. There's
Yeah.
worse ways you can spend an hour. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's funny you mention it because Craig, I do plan on watching the Power Rangers thing, but I need to find a way to stream the original Mighty Morphin's Power Ranger movie
The
before I
one with
watch that.
Ivan Ooze.
Oh, Ivan Ooze with
Yes,
Ivan
Ivan
Ooze.
Ooze.
Yep.
That was the
Classic.
It was.
pinnacle of it
Classic.
for me.
I
So I
remember
need to
being
watch
excited,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
Like, I remember counting down the days to go see that in theaters.
Yeah.
I was like,
I've
oh my
I
God, a
still
Power Rangers movie.
talk about
It's so
unlocking a
good. It's
core
so good.
memory. Like
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
remember seeing that in theaters, and it's like I barely remember
Yeah.
anything from my childhood. But Ivan Ooze,
They had to really
Ivan Ooze,
they had
I
to really find
remember.
themselves.
Yeah.
They had to find themselves in that movie. They had to leave and they had to find a whole new like different type of Power Ranger
That was,
in terms of themselves.
in all honesty, that was a movie event on par with like a Star Wars when that came out. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was an event. Like everybody in your neighborhood was like, when are you going to go see Power Rangers? You know, like we all got to go at the same time. It was massive.
Yeah. It was like that, and then later the Pokemon movies, because
Yep.
I still remember waiting in line for the Pokemon movies more than I remember the Pokemon movie for the first time. I remember
Yeah,
with
because
my
they gave
dad.
you that ancient Mew card, baby.
Yep.
That ancient Mew card.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
go, baby.
Yeah, great.
All right.
It's amazing how like, and I guess, and this is more getting off of like the direction we usually go, but like how big kids movies were like back then. They were events for us
Mhm.
where you know I'll talk about Super Mario movie, but it's definitely not the event that it was.
Right.
You know, like movies and kids going to the movies with their forcing their adult to go take them to go see Mighty Morphin Power Rangers isn't what it was. And definitely it's more or less the digital age. So you can put on the movie on your personal TV and then walk away and have your kid watch
Yeah.
something for 2
Yep.
hours while you're
Yeah.
doing something else. So it's kind of
Yeah.
all there. But I do fondly remember looking at those times with Pokemon, the Digimon movie, the Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Like those were all events
Yep.
in my childhood life for sure.
Yep. And Star Wars for me, like episode 1, my dad went with me, and it was just like, sitting there and him being like, I remember when I saw the first Star Wars the day it came out in theaters, and him just being like, no way.
Yeah, before
Yeah.
before it was called A New Hope.
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
was just when it was
Star
just Star
Wars.
Wars.
Wild.
All right. So I'll talk a little bit about the Super Mario movie. Pretty easy on my end. And I guess I didn't realize I went on an animated kick, I guess, of Super Mario movie, and Craig's talked about it before. Big thing here is just you just got to know coming in it's a kids movie. If you know when coming it's a kids movie, like I enjoy all the Easter eggs that I get to see. I love what they did with like the original like Mario music. They kind of up-tuned it, up the tempo, and it's like they're all really fun songs. I don't really care much for the licensed songs. At some point, I thought I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy with like take the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack and put it in the Super Mario movie is pretty much what they did. And I really love all the Easter eggs they put into it. I thought, Chris Pratt's Mario, yeah, it's not an Italian over the top Mario. I thought Anna Taylor-Joy's Princess Peach was really good. Of course, Jack Black as Bowser, and his Peaches, Peaches, Peaches song went extremely viral. I guess my only real thing is I wish it just wasn't the plot of Odyssey in my eyes. Like that's the plot of this movie is Bowser wants to marry Princess Peach. So I just well and like to be honest, I just thought that would be like another movie's plot. So it's for me it's just like is this what the plot is going to be forever for Mario movies is Bowser. Sorry if I keep saying Zelda. I don't know if I did there or not. I might have, but
You said Bowser.
okay.
Or
So
no, you said Peach.
Yeah.
You said Peach.
okay,
Yeah.
Peach. Yeah, like I'm just not sure if that's going to be the strategy of Bowser is just going to be I need to marry Princess Peach and then that's it, or if like there's going to be some other way to curve the narrative over into something else. That's all I worry about. Because other than that, like I think it's a good movie. And it's fun to have, and also hour and a half, man, did that fly by. Like, movie starts out a little slow, but then you realize, oh, I got like an hour left. Things are picking up, like that kind of thing. Where an hour and a half movie is, you kind of miss the hour and a half movies in my eyes for the most part, because they don't take up an entire afternoon to go watch a movie. It's just, hour and a half, and I'm back in time to go to bed.
Yeah. I love hour and a half movies. I think they're great.
Oh, same.
I don't need 3-hour movies unless it's John Wick.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, unless it's John Wick, which I still need to go see, which I will. But yeah, like that's my anime hit of movies. Go ahead, Craig. What do you think about Dark season 1? Almost done with season 1.
I'm still in the dark, man. On what's going on, not on my.
I don't know why I
it.
didn't expect that. I should have expected it the moment that came out of your mouth, but for whatever reason, I didn't.
So my child disappearances are scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what the actors and actresses have nailed in this show early is sincere parents' reactions to their child or a small town's children, whether it be 1, 2, 3, whatever, disappearing. Like I think what this show does well is it really kind of, they do a good job displaying human emotion, reactions to what is going on, and such like that. Even if I don't know exactly where the time travel aspect is I mean, I know the past time travel. I'm far enough in the show to have seen multiple characters go in the past. I really like it. So one of the things that I like that both of you guys will definitely, I hope will definitely say what that I like is they try to inform you as the watcher by showing past person and present person together. They do that in like a montage frequently. Sometimes it'll be at the end of an episode.
Yep.
Sometimes it'll be a very quick one in the middle, but they'll show Ulrich, who's my boy. I love Ulrich, and I also love Katarina, which is really funny because they're husband and wife. Those are the correct ones, right? Yeah. So I love that storyline specifically, with the adultery and where they're moving from now. But they'll show Ulrich as like the young Ulrich, who I also actually really enjoy. And adult one, like side by side. They'll show Katarina as a young, or side by side, whatever. And I really kind of like that. I like those very artistic montages that kind of just remind you, like, oh, by the way, we know that there's now 75 characters with the past and presents. Here's what they look like, so that you can continue.
Oh yeah.
If they didn't do that, you'd be in trouble. Like you would have no like my wife has that. She still has her paper next to the bed that has all the characters with arrows going to, like, you know what I mean? It's insane. It looks like a crazy person's sketch.
Yeah. It's so, like, I like that they do that. That's really funny because I almost wanted to write a couple of people down. I remember, like, I've already extended probably 80% of the people that I know by name until they say their name again in the show. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. I know there's the hotel owner. I know that they're, like, you know what I mean? I know what she has done. I know what Kid Her has done.
Right.
And then what the revelations have happened with that, because Ulrich's on a rampage right now trying to figure out, like, where his son is. And that's understandable. But I do love the show. And I like that I like that there's so many things I don't know that I want to see what the answers are. And it's not like in a Lost kind of way, because I know that this show only has 3 seasons, where Lost took people down the rabbit hole for, like, what was it, 11 or 12, and you had to wait like 10 years to get your answers, and a lot of people didn't like what those answers were. Whereas here, I know that, like, I'm 2 episodes probably away from the end of the first season. I know that I don't know how some of the people who have gone back to the past are getting back, minus see, I don't remember people's names, but it's the person who's committing the adultery with Ulrich, her son, who like I guess I can't ruin it, but like the only way I can explain the only way I can explain my theories is to describe people and ruin the show. So I'm not. What
Right.
I will say is watch Dark with the subtitles. It's fine. It's a German Netflix show from 2017 to 2020. It is 3 seasons. I'm still at the end of season 1, and I don't know how I haven't watched something like this. It's great.
I think it was definitely because it was in German. Like Netflix really, and I think for the most part, Netflix really's like suggested section really hasn't expanded until recent years. For them, like, everybody will say, oh, Netflix needs more stuff, and it's like they have a lot of good stuff, but some of it is in other languages is the main thing there.
Yeah.
And not only till recently, I think, have they really started to push some of their other languaged like Netflix specials that have done really well. And like that, I feel like that's the only
Yeah.
reason we haven't seen Dark until we did. Craig, when did you end up seeing it like quite early? Like, were you there for the premiere of season 3?
I didn't watch it when it first came out.
Okay,
No,
so
I didn't
you
watch
had
it when it first came out. I watched it later. Yeah. It was one of those ones, is the same thing where it was like, at that time, I wasn't watching anything foreign on Netflix when
Yeah.
that came out at all. Like I did not give it the time of day, but it had to be somebody who was like, yo, have you seen Dark? I'd be like, what? Like, yeah, it's like a German show. And I was like, I don't want to watch that if it's not like in English. And they're like, no, you got to watch it. And then you start it and you're like, okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
And we've said it on the show before. The
Yeah,
English,
it's just-
the English version of the show is perfectly passable. It is
great.
There's no
Yep.
issue with the English version. If you decide that, I get people sometimes watch TV very passively, and like the English version of it is passable enough to you to be able to do something while passively paying attention to the plot. You wouldn't be giving it the service it probably deserves for how good it is, but it is serviceable for sure.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I wanted to watch it in German because I wanted the authentic,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I started out that
yeah, but
way,
then you
and
have to
I went
fully
dub.
pay attention 100%.
yeah.
Yeah. I watched it with English dub.
Okay. I maybe I'll change depending on what I'm doing, because when I was watching, I was fully devoted. I wasn't really playing on my phone. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, anything else you guys want to go over?
Great
Anything
show.
like that? Perfect. Okay. Well,
so.
I want to thank everybody for listening.
Play Resident Evil 4 Remake. Everybody at home.
All right. Everybody at home, play Resident Evil 4 Remake. Also watch Oshi No Ko. If we're going to tell people to watch stuff. Craig, do you want to tell people to watch or play anything? You're going to tell them to watch Suzume? But thank you guys for listening. Please make sure to share the podcast. If you feel so inclined, please make sure to review it on your podcast listening platform of choice. And please feel free to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and feel free to go off in the comments below